This was a good week of chapters as it was Dr. Stone's final chapter, which I am both surprised by but also not surprised by, seeing how last week unfolded. But everything else was also very good this week. So we're going to start off with One Piece, chapter 1042, and this was a good chapter to advance a very interesting part of the story, as we have CP0 playing a large part in the events of this chapter. The bulk of the chapter was just Luffy versus Kaido, showing how powerful Kaido is, as he also has future sight, which was extremely unexpected to see that he had such a powerful observation haki, and he was just able to kind of really beat down Luffy, showing for the most part that Luffy really isn't on his level, though he's very close. Kaido was still drunk through most of it, but he was still able to take on Luffy pretty much evenly and ultimately winning the fight through just sheer amounts of overwhelming strength and power. The biggest decider of the battle, however, was CP0, as Drake had initially taken a stab at the CP0 agent that is supposed to go after Luffy, which he did, which was surprising. However, he then turned around and got rid of Drake. This led to the CP0 agent arriving at the top where Luffy and Kaido were fighting, as the last amounts of power that Luffy had were being used to do one final attack on Kaido. If the attack landed and it won, Luffy would have won the fight, because he was done. He had nothing left in the tank after eating all the damage, after taking even bigger shots. He had one final attack in him. It was Katakuri versus Luffy all over again, one final hit, probably hitting each other at the same time, with Luffy maybe standing up at the end. But CP0 distracted Luffy. Thus, Kaido got the win again off of a distraction, and Kaido looked completely distressed by this fact. So where does this lead, is the ultimate question leaving the chapter. The chapter overall, I think I will give it an A. It was a very good chapter with a nice shocking ending. With that shocking ending, I think Luffy is in fact defeated for right now. However, the island with an additional blast going straight through it won't survive. I don't think. I think what'll happen is Kaido will be pissed, probably kill the CP0 agent, and then we will go into a flashback, as basically all the major fronts have been won. From Kaido beating Luffy, Kid and Law beating Big Mom, most of Kaido's generals being defeated, CP0 being defeated, and Orochi being defeated. Maybe Komurasaki kills him, and then she plays one more string as she's prepared to die herself, perhaps, with the island crumbling. As there's nothing they can do, the island's just gonna fall apart. In this, we see Kaido pissed as anything, depressed, pretty much, as we will then cut to the flashback. End of Act 3, beginning of Act 4, where we'll get a break, see what the rest of the world is on fire for, and then we'll cut back and we'll see Kaido's backstory, as he's falling from the top of Onigashima down to the cliffs below. That's where things will change, where Luffy could come back into the fight as he lands, getting enough of a breather to more or less gain just enough energy to maybe win, or Kaido just wins outright, which is a very shocking event. I'm not sure. Right now, this is probably the most interesting One Piece has been, though I think most people are believing Luffy will somehow survive or have tanked the hit. I think Luffy's done, and we are just going into a flashback. Going into the next interlude before the next act, which is a flashback. This battle is over. Onigashima has been won by Kaido. No other fronts are active. Everything is basically on fire, and all the major players are out. Everyone's going to flee to safety, either escaping the island, and Kaido and Luffy are the only ones to fall, get crumbled by the island. Luffy will be fine, where Kaido will also be fine, but very depressed. Everyone else will leave, and we'll get a few weeks later before eventually Luffy comes back and versus Kaido one-on-one. That's where I'm going to see this through. That's my sort of theory prediction on how this is going to go. I'm curious to see if I'm right in the end or if I'm blatantly wrong. So now we're on to Black Clover, chapter 325, and this was a good chapter, having Lucifero continue to dominate everyone Asta, Yami, Yuno, and Noct all are just getting destroyed. There is nothing any of them really can do as much as they're trying to. And towards the end of the chapter, it looks as though there's two people that are going in for an attack on Lucifero, and everyone's trying to figure out who to back in that moment. It is seemingly Yami or Asta attacking him, though also at the same point, Asta was more or less saved by Yuno. So I'm not sure how this final bit is going to play out, though I could see something ridiculous as Yami, once again, for the 100th time, getting the final blow on a major villain, and that villain, unlike in usual cases, disappears because the Qlipoth tree is destroyed. The gate is going to probably close for the most part. Because of that, every devil only has their one body for now, and so with Lucifero's destroyed, his core goes into hiding like the original devil in the original Elf War arc. He'll go into hiding, having it that the good guys win while Lucifero's still on the loose, leaving it that it's still open. We move on to new arcs, new enemies, new rivals, new whatever, as they continue to age and grow stronger, and Lucifero returns. We also have some of the other devils that'll escape this whole thing, having escaped hell itself to the real world, and will now be out and about causing mayhem, with our heroes having to hunt them down. It all works, it all makes sense. That's what I'm predicting for Black Clover after the events here, because everyone is seemingly putting in a lot of effort for one final slash of Lucifero. I 100% doubt he dies here, because that's very underwhelming. I think he will lose his body, the core will run away, the other major devils that have escaped hell will run away as well, and now we'll have a devil hunting arc. So overall, I will give this chapter a B. It was good seeing the continued fight and the continued overpowered nature of Lucifero. We'll see if my prediction is right or wrong, but otherwise, this was a good chapter. Now we're on to Undead Unluck, chapter 101, and this was a good chapter, continuing to show Andy going on an absolute rampage, killing off as many Umas as he can to get to Unruin. This causes the Lunar Uma, whatever goddess spirit thing that's on the moon, to call and summon Juiz up there. Juiz makes a proclamation that Andy will be able to destroy God, and that there will be no need for a 101st loop, which is very curious to see if that holds true or not, as Andy now is incurring God's wrath because he's destroying all of the rules of the universe. So it is very interesting to see how all of this will unfold, with Andy now having to verse even more powerful villains on his way to getting Fuko back. Will my early days prediction of this series hold true, or are we in the end game? I'm very curious to see how this is going to go, seeing how so many of these series are ending a lot earlier than I think they would have many years ago. I think they used to really push to try to get them to stay on if they made it past a certain point in time, where now it looks like they're just saying, if you want to end it, you can end it wherever you want. So it leads this particular manga up in the air on what it's going to do. For me, I would like to see it extend and have a lot more character work with everyone, maybe a reversal of fortune, whatever. But if it ends with a giant grand battle of Andy being extremely powerful and Fuko and all the rest of them being powerful versus God and winning, that's all fine with me as well. It'll be very interesting to see how this ends, however. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good seeing Andy showing off more of his power, defeating 3 or 5 Umas in total in this chapter alone before incurring God's wrath. So we'll see what God's wrath is, if it is just a more powerful Uma or some other warrior that Andy will really have to go toe-to-toe with, showing off how much more powerful he is. Now we're on to Mashle, Magic and Muscles, chapter 99, and this was a very good chapter, having it that Innocent Zero arrives to take stock of what's going on. He sees that Demina lost, and Demina is very much worried about it, and Innocent Zero proves he is a bad father by telling Demina not to worry about it. There are plenty of others that can replace him, showing how uncaring Innocent Zero is, explaining what his goal more or less is, which is to use everyone and everything to obtain eternal life. That's the whole point of life in Innocent Zero's eyes. Mash does not like this, takes off his weights again, goes on a full offensive. However, Innocent Zero is even more powerful than before and somehow put the braces back on him. Oh, I think he had the power of time magic, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he did. So that's how he did it. But still, showing the power gap between Mash and Innocent Zero was probably a really good thing to do, because Mash was looking more and more unstoppable, where now Innocent Zero is 100% in a different class, in a very different league than everyone else in the entire series. He also summoned, seemingly, his firstborn son, or one of his other more powerful sons that even Demino was sweating over, whose name is Doom, if I believe that's correct. So we're in for quite the treat to see if two powerhouses in Mash and Doom going toe to toe is going to destroy everything, or if Mash is going to be overpowered or not. So the way this is going should be very interesting, as I would hope Demina doesn't sacrifice himself and more or less joins Mash. I could see it going the other way, the more obvious way of him interfering. He ends up being overpowered and killed. This spurs Mash to even more hidden power. Demina sees this, gets excited, and leaves with Doom to prepare for the next stage. Mash has more motivation to go after Innocent Zero than ever before, seeing his brother that he only just met go down. I'm hoping it takes a twist. It does something similar to, well, does something different. Maybe Demina doesn't do anything and ends up just joining the school or something ridiculous. Dude, it just having a different style to it would be very fun. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good to see Innocent Zero take complete control of the situation, showing how powerful he truly is. I look forward to seeing whatever machinations happen next, and the fight between Doom and Mash. Now we're on to Sakamoto Days chapter 61, and this was a good chapter, showing that the director decided to do this off the cuff, and the other administrators for the test had no idea this was going to happen, and they come up on the fly that they should make this part 2 of the test to survive and have a bullet from the plane. So everyone's sort of panicking, but Sakamoto, still being calm, decides to make sure that they have the situation handled, as he seemingly predicted it, went after the director, got the bullets back, and everyone now had a bullet, as well as they needed a way to land, which Sakamoto predicted having his apron. However, he was too heavy for the apron. So the girl, deciding to figure out a way to be helpful, realized she had very good sewing ability and sewed everyone's shirt to make a giant parachute for everyone. This did in fact save their life. They landed in the water relatively safely, and they all made it to the beach unscathed. Sakamoto saved her from the water because she can't swim, and she was able to earn, quote-unquote, her bullet by doing what they did to save their lives. Sakamoto noted that her sewing was very skilled and unique under that very intense pressured situation, and wonders what her deal is, like what is up with her, because she clearly has skills. It's also very funny to see the kid buckle under the pressure of falling, but at the same time still following under Shin's lead. So the whole crew here should be very fun, and I do hope the kid and the girl end up really joining the Sakamoto faction in the end. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was fun to see, and I couldn't even predict what's going to happen next. It'll probably be test number 3, and it'll probably be the director demanding that they all somehow find a way to survive in like the jungle island they're in, and he'll be obsessed with our core group and everyone else will die but those 4. It'll be something to that effect is what I'm kind of predicting for the next few chapters on how this is going to go. And now for a special, because it's the final chapter, Dr. Stone, chapter 232, the final chapter. This itself was a good chapter, just showing more of several years later, them continuing to thrive and continuing to evolve. Having it that Gin is being more or less a diplomat with the other nations that are forming, and Seki, I think his name is Seki, is still inventing and so on. 2 of the other main characters get married. It's a very nice chapter. The crux of it is that the series isn't quite over. You could make a sequel series, which is very interesting, but if you wanted to end it here, it could end, as I think it's Seki is now deciding to invent a time machine to go back in time to try to elevate the humans of the past so that they don't get petrified. It's a bold endeavor, something no one would really ever thought to do, but is very interesting nonetheless. So whatever their next project, the author and co, I look forward to seeing what they do because this story was so great. And overall, this chapter itself, I would give a B. It was a nice conclusion and leaving it very much open-ended. The series as a whole was wholly unique in the way that it really started really nice and slow, then picked up very quickly and advanced unbelievably quickly. As it stated, it took about 10 years from start to finish of the series, and it looks like it's going to just sort of have a nice open-ended conclusion so that they could go back to it if they ever felt the need to. Similar to Naruto or Bleach or any of them, really, where you can make a sequel series. It's not dead in the water, it's not over. So this series as a whole, I actually would give an A. I really enjoyed Dr. Stone. I ended up going on, then falling off, and then I caught back up before the end, which was really nice to be able to do, as this was a very good series. I enjoyed it a lot, even if I didn't really talk about it. And a lot of the themes, a lot of the decision making was very good, and again, it could be remade, redone, continued, sequelized, whatever. And I look forward to seeing if it does, and if not, it was a great story to read and one I would very much recommend. So that was all of the major chapters this week. They were all very good, with the major thing being that Dr. Stone ended. That's not to say there wasn't other things, as there were several stories that had major defeats, such as One Piece, Black Clover getting beaten up. All the characters there were getting beaten pretty good, just like Mashle. And then you had big moments of, not triumph, but at least success with Undead and Sakamoto Days. So now to everything else. We had My Hero, which was fine, Jujutsu Kaisen, which was fine, and Blue Box, which was fine, though a major update on all of the romantic fronts, as well as failures in the sports fronts. Elusive Samurai was good, more intense character development and intrigue, as both ally and villain show that no one's really a good guy outside of the main character. Even then, he has to really work in areas of gray. So the next few chapters should be very interesting. We then had Izakura family, with the oldest brother seemingly taking out the former heads of the Izakura family, who are the villains of this arc, but seemingly dooming himself to a degree. I'm curious at what the fallout is going to be from this. Did he die? Did he get captured? What? I'm curious because he did seemingly win, but he also attacked the main character. So I'm not sure how this is going to unfold, but I'm very curious. We then had P times 6, and that was good as Lucky revealed his past, thus really putting into question everything and showing off what happened with him, revealing that it was a septuplet, not sextuplet, and showing that he might be able to move on to like the next round of this competition, and the main female character wants to help him win, as it still looks like everyone's going to be banned if Lucky's sister wins. So there's some urgency here, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the fallout of this whole thing happens. Maybe if the sister ends up reconnecting with Lucky to a degree or something. I'm not sure. I'm curious with it. Ashimon was good, with some more resolve being thrown all of the main characters' way as they're trying to figure out ways to beat overwhelmingly powerful characters. And Doron was rather fun, showing a similar way to all the other ones, but again, its quirky characters really saved this series for me. So I hope it does continue, though I can already tell how this is going to continue to go if you just read any of the types of story this one is based off of. You kind of know where it's going, but it's still very entertaining because the characters are very quirky. So that's all of the chapters. They were all very good this week. I enjoyed all of them. Next week should be another good week of chapters. I don't believe anything's on break, which is nice. And we'll see if anything that I predicted in this video actually comes true, or if I'm just dumb and have no idea what I'm talking about. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and as always, thank you for watching.